It's always so inspiring to hear such resonance, and perhaps it's the only resonance you'll get from this broadcast, or the best for sure. Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Welcome and thank you. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the core to core, and anyone interested in surviving or thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. I realized I had 7 things to talk about, I guess because it's Monday maybe, and realized I wasn't going to type all that out in the Facebook broadcast, that I would just use one intriguing title and then go through the rest without having to type them. Because when you do this, if there's a large block of text attached to the video that you're trying to stream out, I think that's harder to establish and maintain as a connection, as a stream. So number 1 is a quote, and the quote goes, "A change in perception is worth 80 IQ points." A change in perception is worth 80 IQ points. By Alan Kay, computer scientist. Because I'm always talking about points of view, and everyone has their own point of view, and even reality seems to have its point of view, and yet how well we resonate with the reality that we're in determines how well we survive. And that comes back to, of course, that for me, from this point of view, Joe was a survivor, and his method is survival training. And what we're surviving in is reality. And the bulk of that, or what's very practical about reality that we have to survive in, is gravity. Right? So, that was a Monday thought. Points of view. I've been lucky enough to go horseback riding in the mountains and ride off of a trail and then end up looking for a trail and not being able to see one, but to just move along a few steps, a trail becomes visible. So the point there is that sometimes you have to move from where you are to a different point of view, a different perception, to even see that way of going. So number two is a short title called, and I'm scared just to even call it, Martial Arts and Pilates. Martial Arts and Pilates. Now, like yoga, I say I know nothing about martial arts, and I know nothing about yoga, but I certainly have done more martial arts over a longer period of time as a dedicated discipline than I would say I've had in my participation in yoga. But it was a long time ago, and for me, there came a point where there was a choice about which discipline to pursue or continue with. And that turned out to be Pilates for me. It might be martial arts for someone else. I'll always be grateful and treasure the time I spent training with Sensei Signorelli And that's lost into a whole nother world. My point is, and it goes with, is years after I had let go of martial arts and become heavily immersed in Pilates, there was a chance to do a workshop with Seagal, a famous movie actor, martial artist, and out of curiosity I went back, and it was the same martial arts setup of one person faced against another person and engaging in some way to reach some kind of resolution from the combat. And after having done so much Pilates and pursuit of Pilates, I found it so strange to find the conflict resolution standing in front of me, rather than within me reaching for the ideal in the face of what's real, which is reality, and that's the opponent that stands before you in doing Pilates. And in martial arts, it's a conflict resolution between two human beings or more. So, to me, Pilates is a response to reality in the interest of survival. Joe is a survivor. So number 3 is more just a statement, almost without any explanation. And the statement is, you create your connection to what's out there through your observing. And observing is present continuous tense on purpose. And the statement is structured to focus on the capacity of the human being in their observing, to use that word in that tense, present continuous. And I just mean that as a human being, you take in all your sensation and you have your simulation of what it's like out there, beyond what's in there as a person. And you create your connection to what's out there through your observing. So number 4, is real time the best time? Well, I got into it on Facebook when I shared a person's video clip doing exercises on the low chair. And someone made a comment that that's not Pilates. And I think the temptation was to say, not me, because I was the one sharing it. And in leaning into that or being drawn into that impulse, perhaps not seeing that the speed of the film, to me, was obviously sped up. But there's this, no, that's not Pilates, and a righteous indignation. I could be as righteously indignant as the next person. But I don't shove my indignation under someone else's nose, and that's why I'm here broadcasting, so that you have to be interested in this to listen to it. I'm not trying to convince you of anything, merely hopefully help you have a change in perception that might be like an increase of 80 IQ points when it comes to surviving as a Pilates instructor. And see, in the martial arts setup of conflict resolution between two individuals, you can pursue ideals toward that end, which is definitely about survival. Pilates removes the human being as contestant or opposition or opponent or threat to survival, and faces reality head on for the physics of what it is in the biology that we have, or in the biology that we have, within the physics that we exist. And so you don't even want to think in those terms, then please, there's 10,000 points of view. Indulge in or preserve or protect or speak out for whatever one you wish. From my point of view, MMP point of view, Pilates has an essence of its own. And in that, we are all one. We are all the same in so far as what Pilates is, what it is. We are connected to that, by that. So, the number 4 is real time, best time. It draws the point to me that as much as it's popular to video a long sequence and then show it really fast, that's advantageous to compress the information into less time, but at the expense of real time, where you get much more sensation of what's going on than you do in compressed time or drawn out time, right? Something other than real time. So my question was, is real time the best time? Well, it depends, and I would suggest to you, if you're making videos, show some of it real time, and then show some of it, or show it all compressed, and then show some of it real time. Or show real time inserted within the compressed, it may be just a point for those making videos and compressing what they have, but really, I'm exhausted when I see it all compressed. And what I think someone was objecting to about it not being Pilates was that the speed at which it was done was way faster than you'd ever really do it real time. Right? So the best time, real time may not be the best time, but the use of both in comparison, I think would bring more depth of perception from the comparison. Even if it's just a video that comes right after, or other times that's in real time. It's in the real time that you get that chewy, taffy, driven by instinctual inspiration and intention. Let me go on. Number 5, again, is just a statement. Understand Pilates for yourself, feel it for yourself, and let that be your guide. Understand Pilates for yourself, feel it for yourself, and let that be your guide. Now, my point of view is that when you understand Pilates, you understand the MMP point of view with whatever else you know, and whatever else you believe Pilates to be, that you at least are aware of, I would want you to be, aware of an ideal point of view. And in understanding the ideal point of view, you have an understanding of it for yourself without anybody explaining it to you. Or assuming that they can understand better what is there for anyone to read and comprehend. So in that regard, there are 10,000 views of Pilates, and some of them I have no idea what they are, and I do my best just to project and try to create a resonance in the projection with the message. And so, number 6, I haven't been doing my finger codes lately. Number 6 is MMP's point is that there is a point to Pilates. The point of view of MMP, right, is that there is a point to Pilates. And a point in that there's something to aim at, right? There's something that it boils down to, a point, right? And in MMP, it's a sensation. It's an experience. I don't know why, but I like that distinction. When it comes to the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit, that's an experience. When it comes to the observing and the thinking about the observing and the body and all of that sensationally, that's sensational input that gets you to the experience. Just my sentiment toward the words and the expression of them. So in number seven, I think I'm coming across as well, I'm being labeled as a franchise, which is something disdainful. And yet what my number 7 comment is about is know the difference between franchises. And know that almost every franchise out there know that I can't speak for every other franchise, and that's where it gets. I tell myself, and I ask you, don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Just try to stay clear with your perception and make it your best effort to engender that perception in others. So the difference when she says I'm a franchise, as though that's just a generic, I don't know what that means, but I think it's like something bad and as something reductive and oh yes, for sure, in a way that the difference in my franchise from any other is that it gets its legitimacy or draws its legitimacy. It assumes its authority based on what Joe says in his book, without ever having met Joe or rely on information. I mean, I've learned a lot from people in different lineages, in different generations, that have gotten me to and then reinforced my understanding of its ideal nature. But that's not more important than my understanding of its ideal nature. And that's what I'm trying to say to you is that when you understand its ideal nature, that's authority that it's like you take on your own. You grasp because you get it. Okay? And so knowing the difference between franchises, and there's another popular franchise, and all of that is governed by a different point of view with different rules and trainings and degrees of legitimacy and authority that are all rooted for the most part in some sense of tradition that leads back to Joe. Know the difference. You know, what is MMP? MMP is an ideal point of view. And from that point of view, your IQ might go up 80 points. Is the point I'm trying to make. Now you could say, oh, that's preposterous and all that la-la. But just because there's an elevator in the sub-level 4 of the basement, the parking garage you're in, doesn't mean you can't get into an express elevator that takes you up to the penthouse and out to the helicopter pad to fly off wherever you want to go. Good image. I like that. And see, I'm talking about the value of a change in perception. But what if you don't want a change in perception? See, there's the rub. And that's where so much anguish comes in, because in the tsunami of Pilates passion and money and vanity and necessity, passion, whatever sentimental connection you have to Pilates can only be strengthened by your at least awareness of a point of view that is likely to grow in the future. Why? Because everybody's looking for high ground in a tsunami. Everybody's looking for something that is steadfast in the diversity of what is being made out of the method. It's been this way all along, and there's your relationship to Pilates and what you do with it, and there's everyone else's. And humanity will do to Pilates what it does to everything. The trick is to try to survive as a Pilates instructor. And the more clear you can be about what that means to you, there's where value comes in, and you add 2 and 2, and some people will listen and some won't. And I would recommend knowing that as a Pilates instructor, your job is to participate in a corrective feedback loop of movement. don't know where I was going with that, but I think you already got there. Which is a good thing, because life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain, and wish me luck trying to deliver this on Facebook. And appreciate perspective. That's new in my endings, right? And yet, and here I am, a change in perception is worth 80 IQ points. You never know, this perception, this point of view, this ideal view of MMP may reinforce your view more than it undercuts it, right? I can't live forever, read between the lines, see behind the curtain, appreciate perspective, then add 2 and 2, right? I have a sticker I can show you for $1. And if somebody didn't want to see the sticker, fine, don't show it to them. And that's the same thing with, I have a point of view about Pilates. Direct your thinking, of course. Thank you for listening. Geist.